All right, good morning, everybody. We'll call the Development Committee meeting of May 7th to order, and may we have a roll call.
Member Krajewski?
Here.
Member Chaplin? Here. Member Guston? Here. Member Ozog? Here. Member Rutledge? Here. Chair Tornatori?
Here. And we have a quorum. I have no chair remarks. Do we have any public comment this morning? No public comment. Moving on to minutes, I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes of
Second.
April 16th.
Or so moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any additions, corrections, or deletions? Hearing none, seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Anybody else besides Liz? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Minutes are approved.
Coffee.
Moving on to regulatory, I'll entertain a motion to approve 6A 24-1443 to transfer funds from 1100-2810 53,830 other contractual expenses, 65,000.
Second.
For a budget transfer needed to cover a job reclassification. There's a motion and a second. Any questions, comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion is carried. I'll entertain a motion to approve 21-1444 and essentially Accord C-2185 Stults. There's a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Moving on, I'll entertain a motion to approve DCO 19-24 zoning 2411. Cabral, this is the zoning hearing officer's recommendation to approve conditional use to reduce the required side yard setback from 3.5 feet to 3.5 feet where it has existed for at least 5 years. A conditional use to allow the existing detached accessory building structures to remain in front of the front wall of the house where they have existed for at least 5 years. A conditional use to increase the total area of detached accessory buildings from 2,600 square feet to approximately 5,280 square feet for all existing detached buildings that have existed for at least 5 years, and a variation to allow the total area of detached accessory buildings to exceed the total area of the principal building.
So moved.
Second.
Question?
Questions, comments?
Yeah.
Yes.
Maybe staff can educate me on this. Do we ever grandfather this type of stuff? If it's been so many years, it's kind of grandfathered, or we don't?
So we do, for grandfathering.
Hi, Paul.
Good morning. For grandfathering, for zoning, relative to zoning, anything that was built, prior to 1957 relative to zoning, because that's the sort of official date that the modern day zoning ordinance came into effect. So anything prior to 1957 is technically grandfathered in. Anything that was built after 57 and doesn't have permits for it and now has to get permits, they need to seek the zoning relief. And in this case, this is a unique situation because this was a agricultural property, so they didn't require permits for these buildings. In the last 2 years, the property was sold and some of the property was split off. So a portion of the property that was split off from this remainder piece left this remainder piece less than 5 acres, so it no longer qualified for the agricultural exemption. So there was some complaints about some activity going on these properties. That activity has stopped in terms of the type of animals that are on the property, but those buildings remain. In order to keep these buildings, they need to zone.
Follow-up question, the 1957 law, I guess, or ordinance, right? Has that ever been updated? Should it be updated? Has it been considered for updating?
So 1957 is when there was a landmark Supreme Court decision. It's commonly referred to as the LaSalle case. It had to do with a case right here in Chicago. And that's when the courts essentially said that you can, that governments can create zoning regulations if there is a compelling government interest. And there are certain standards that are known as the LaSalle standards. We hear them often here in this committee where people have to prove up why they need a variation or hardship. You have to follow the LaSalle standards. That's a Supreme Court case, and that's when, not for the county that the modern day zoning came into place, but essentially for the country that modern day zoning came into place. That's when essentially the courts found that local governments could regulate land uses that they found a compelling government interest. So that's why we use the 1957 date.
Gotcha.
And that's a US Supreme Court nationwide.
Yes, that's a Supreme Court. And that basically set the standard for all zoning in this country. And that's what everybody sort of relies on to be able to say, we get to create zoning codes.
Great.
Prior to that, it was the wild, wild west.
A lot
So you can do whatever you want to
Pretty
do.
much so.
of llamas.
Any other questions, comments on this matter? Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion carries. I'll entertain a motion to approve DC 020-24 zoning 2418 Roman. The zoning hearing officer recommended to bifurcate this, so we will do that. Number one, the zoning hearing officer denied a variation to reduce the rear yard setback from 25 feet to approximately 2 feet for an existing chicken coop. And all right, and okay, so let's take that one first.
So moved.
So
Second.
we'll get a motion in the affirmative, a second. So do we need a roll call? Does anybody have any? Okay, so if you vote in the affirmative, then we will be overturning the zoning hearing officer's recommendation. So is there anybody in favor? All those opposed?
Aye.
I would be in favor.
Okay, let's take a roll call then. So again, if you're voting aye, it means you're overturning the denial of the zoning hearing officer.
Member Rutledge?
Aye.
Member Guston?
No.
Member Krajewski?
Aye.
Member Chaplin? No. Member Ozark?
No.
Chair Tornatori?
No. The motion fails. And then the second issue, I'll entertain a motion to allow a variation for a 4-H program with a 1-pound rooster on a property less than 40,000 square feet. There's a motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, again, a vote in the affirmative on this would be denying the, or overturning the zoning hearing officer's recommendation to deny and allowing the 1-pound rooster. Roll call, please.
Guston? Member Guston?
No.
Member Chaplin? No. Member Krajewski?
Aye.
Member Ozark?
No.
Member Rutledge?
Aye.
Chair Tornatori?
No, and the motion fails. And we have a zoning hearing officer's recommendation to approve a conditional use to allow a 4-H program with a goat on a property less than 40,000 square feet. Motion to approve,
Second? Or who moved? I moved.
and the motion is second. Let's do a roll call on this one.
Member Chaplin? Aye. Member Krajewski?
Aye.
Member Guston?
Aye.
Member Ozark?
Aye.
Member Rutledge?
Aye.
Chair Tornatori?
Aye, and the motion carries. Moving on to item 6E, I'll entertain a motion to approve DCO 21-24 zoning 2420. Sanchez, the zoning hearing officer's recommendation to approve a variation to reduce the front yard setback from 30 feet to approximately 26.4 feet for a new house on an existing foundation and rear addition, and a variation to reduce the corner side setback from 30 feet to approximately 27.1 for a new house on an existing foundation
Second.
and rear addition. There's a motion and a second. Any questions, comments on this matter? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? And the motion carries. Do we have any old business? Yes.
I have a question. This might be for Paul. I have a resident that, the neighbor will not mow their grass, and they would like to, I think they tried to go through the township and nothing happened. And I thought previously we had discussed something about what the county could do. Would you mind running through what we ended up with?
So the county does not have a weed cutting or grass cutting ordinance. We've opted out of that just because it's cost prohibitive.
Sure.
And there's just too many properties around the county that have issues. And more importantly, all the townships have some sort of weed cutting program where they will notify the property owner that if they don't get the weeds, the township will come in, cut the weeds, and then clean the property. You can certainly reach out to me and I'll talk with the township about getting onto the property. But that's how we've handled it, and it seems to work very, very well.
Okay, thank you.
Member Kaczynski.
Which township was it? Is it down flat? Did you call the supervisor?
Well, Steve did it, so I just wanted to follow. I'll call him.
Yeah, you can give me a call and Lyle Township does have weed cutting services, so we can make sure that it gets on there cutting weeds.
Okay, thank you.
Any other old business? Member Rutledge.
Thank you, Chair. I just want to comment on the rooster. City of Chicago has no limits on the number of chickens or roosters you can have. Their only prohibition is you cannot slaughter them on your property. You have to have them rendered somewhere else. So I'm gonna continue to vote for chickens and roosters. We just let them have a goat. And,
You want me to vote no on the goat? I will too. Sure, that's okay.
no, I'm fine with the goat, but I selected.
We went through,
50. I know.
we
I
went through
know,
a lot and.
I get
and
it.
With roosters, and that was the concern that, a lot of us had, and a lot of the people who were advocating for chickens were opposed to roosters, so. But anybody else on old business, roosters or otherwise? Any new business? Okay, hearing none, seeing none, without objection, we're adjourned. Thank you.
There was Sam.